All right. Welcome to an episode of an unnamed kind of podcast, streaming, talking.
We're going to see how it goes.
Yeah.
We're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, this is, my name is Jeremy, as usual. I'm on here, but this is my friend Steve. And Steve, do you want to tell anything about yourself?
More or less. I'm 30 years old. I've been playing video games, since I can remember.
1990s?
1990s, from what I can remember. Started out with NES, moved on to SNES, so on and so forth. Not a really big Sega guy, so I don't really have a whole lot to pull from on that one. I don't know. I'm sure
I'll cover the Dreamcast.
Good,
yeah. On Dreamcast.
Yeah, I was definitely not a Dreamcast or even a Sega Genesis, Sega CD. I know about them, but yeah. So that's kind of what we're going for, and that's pretty much it. I game often. I love multiplayer. I love single player. I think there's benefit with both genres, and I just want to see both of those continue to grow. So
okay. Well, you mentioned something there though, multiplayer. Do you prefer multiplayer online or when you're like the couch co-op kind of thing? You know, like, I don't know if you played Jackbox or any of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or any N60. Most Nintendo consoles, they prefer you play together instead of online.
We could always start off with the Holy Grail, right? Yeah. GoldenEye. That's where it all starts, I think, in the like that.
That Mario Kart on 64, you know, because that was the first one that was 4 players.
Something that's not often talked about. Mario Kart 64.
I love that game.
I don't disagree.
The Blockland level of battle mode was the best thing ever, and when you died, you still turned into a bomb, so you got that last hit on somebody. My brother had this really weird thing where whenever he saw a bomb on level, he'd get a Starman, he'd go after the bomb because he could take the bomb out with a Starman.
Absolutely.
And the screen would just freeze to wherever you were as a bomb when you died. It was just hilarious.
So, that old 64 jankiness and everything that is still amazing, and I love that way. That's why I love about multiplayer is you have those little nuances and everything like you just said. You found that little glitch and everything, right? So even GoldenEye had their little spots and everything like that, but I think that's the reason why I love coach co-op multiplayer. But then again, now that we've moved into a new generation and a new I love couch co-op when I was in high school, when I was in college, when I had
people around,
you know, in my first year in college and everything, I had a roommate, and not only did I have a roommate, I had 3 other rooms that were connected to a main room. Okay. So I had 7 people total that I could draw from at any one point.
That's nice. Renee had that. My wife had that in college. I didn't go away to college, so in college, me and my brother played together. We had friends over and stuff, but we didn't have that where it was always people necessarily my age where I was just playing against them. But I feel like Nintendo still hasn't fully adopted online. Like, they begrudgingly adopted it where they've been forced to. It's still peer-to-peer. It's not, server-based or anything. It's not...
I agree. And that's why I think I have to, for this intents and purposes, say I think the local is going to be better. We literally just got done playing a whole bunch of Smash. Jeremy and his Bowser action.
Bowser's so OP, man.
OP.
He's so OP.
I can't even begin to describe it, but I'm a good loser, and as soon as I learn how to beat Bowser is going to be the end of that, and then we'll have to move on to another set of characters.
Next update, I'm guaranteeing they depower him. I've seen it online. There's a thing on Twitch, VG Bootcamp, and people play as Bowser. They're going up in the 250s and not going off the level. It's ridiculous. In fact,
you just unlocked something because you went so far into that. And I've never seen somebody so bright red steaming like that on a Super Smash. So that was fun. We learned a lot today.
I was a 320 something, and we were on the Mario Brothers level, so it was impossible to make me go flying. I was just bouncing around. I looked like a Jack Russell Terrier. I was just bouncing around the screen. I couldn't even find myself half the time.
So couch co-op. That. I know we've talked about a lot, but I think overall, that's where I'm at for Nintendo. Now, when we talk other, Sony, Microsoft, they have it nailed. I think, not that we have to go off on a tangent, but I think Microsoft has the best service. And it's not that PlayStation is that much further back, but I think what Microsoft really does well is their multiplayer service. And
I've said it for a few years that if Microsoft and Nintendo teamed up to where Nintendo still kept their properties or whatever, and Microsoft controlled the online portion, it would be the best world because, I mean, really what it is Microsoft doesn't have any exclusives, and that's what killed them this last generation completely. They have
You're right,
nothing of their own.
absolutely.
Everything that comes out on there almost comes out on the Sony PlayStation.
And unfortunately, Sony PlayStation usually has the better of the two options because look at Call of Duty. You're getting multiplayer sooner. You're getting DLC sooner. You're getting all of this stuff sooner because they have that exclusive.
Yeah,
and
they pay for it, yeah.
So when I get in arguments, spirited debates, that's the reason why I always feel like Microsoft is a little bit lacking because they don't necessarily have that DLC that's coming out first. I gotta wait 30 days. Now, it is what it is. I'm not really happy about it in any way. I think Microsoft is a company, I don't know why they didn't spend the money. I think they're definitely playing catch up, but I think they, I don't know what they're doing. They're hitting the NOS button or something right now because, six studios? It could be 8 studios
I thought they bought 7 to 9 somewhere in there.
We'll have to look that up. Don't quote us on that. But yes.
And nothing, I'll put a text on the screen that says the actual number, but I know they bought enough studios that have not done anything on the current generation hardware, which means they bought them exclusively for whatever's next generation. They're going to try to get exclusive. They figured out just basically putting out the same stuff as Sony plus nothing else, and Sony having extra stuff has done them no favors. And while the online is good, and the team making and voice chat and everything, which Nintendo and that horrible phone app, if that's why if Nintendo and not Nintendo Sony but Nintendo Microsoft teamed up, it would probably be like a match made in heaven. I don't want Microsoft to own Nintendo. I think that'd be horrible. But I think if they were to team up,
I don't think that'll happen either. No, I don't see that happening. But look at Microsoft. There is more friendly relationships now between the big three than there ever have been before.
Well, Sony, it's almost, again, using the word begrudgingly, Sony's kind of came in the fold only because when they locked Fortnite, I think they really shot themselves in the foot and they were doing themselves no favors for the next generation. They were, because people were frustrated. They had this great account, they had this great track record, and they couldn't play it on any other system except PC and phones.
Well, you're not wrong. So here we started off a little bit with our little introduction, and then we started talking about our multiplayer and kind of where we started and what preferences were. Look at what GoldenEye was. Look
versus
at where
Fortnite?
Let's go. I mean, PUBG, all the other one, Call of Duty, Battlefield.
Definitely.
I play them all. I love them all. I think they're all good. But let's just throw it out there. Fortnite right now is the hottest. No matter who you are, what you are, moms know about it. Kids talk about it. I mean, it's to the point where
some things right now. It's
don't get me wrong.
Some buzz. I haven't played it.
I personally have. Okay. I actually do like it, but I like it because it's Call of Duty's version of it. I think Fortnite is completely different. But get back to what look what GoldenEye did, Nintendo, right? Completely locked in. That's what we remember as multiplayer. PlayStation really didn't have that back then. But look at Fortnite now. They're breaking walls down. Yeah. Not that we were ever going to see GoldenEye or anything else, but just Sony's we're not. Yeah. We're not. This is a free game that caused one of the big three to say, okay, we're going to go cross-platform. Yeah. I also think that Sony has so many, for their name changes and everything. This just happened, right? Sony people have been wanting the name changes so you can actually change your name.
Oh, yeah, but they're charging for that,
but the first one's free. Again, don't quote us on this. Okay. First one's free, and I think the other ones you have to pay for, if I'm not mistaken. But certain games, it's not going to matter. It doesn't work. Yeah. Or you're going to be able to see the old one. It's very... And my God. I've heard the reason why, and I've heard it... Again, don't quote me. I heard it's because their infrastructure is a little bit older, and it's tied into a few different things. Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm speaking with speculation here. So,
if they're storing anything server-side, it might not be possible for them to push that down into if it's local files. I don't know. Anything that's a server-side game where it would matter. Yeah, I don't know. When I heard all that, I was like, well, yeah, of course, they didn't prepare for it from the beginning. So I guarantee next generation, they'll say, from day one, you can change your name. Limited number of times, but they'll say, you can do that. And it'll be kind of almost like a joke on themselves kind of thing, laughing at themselves a bit. Oh, we made a big mistake there.
Do you really see Sony laughing at themselves? Nintendo, maybe. Microsoft, I think, definitely. I think Phil Spencer's that type of guy. He's I just feel
just
that
his
way.
post alone when he's like, when they're like, people are wanting Banjo-Kazooie and Smash Brothers, he's all like, well, Nintendo can talk to us, we'll talk. He's open to it.
And that's exactly what I want to see. I think it's amazing that you can, the span of literally our lives, and look at how far that multiplayer has come.
Right.
And now you do have Fortnite literally on everything. I mean, I know when I immediately got it on Switch, I couldn't stop. In fact, I tried to sell you on it for the longest time, for weeks and weeks, and I'm like, Jeremy, just try it, it's free. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get hooked, and then I stop playing. And you start killing it with Battle Pass, and I come in, and then you're playing with guys, and I'm just not hacking it. So, but that's what I think the great thing about the Switch in general and multiplayer, to circle back around to Nintendo and its multiplayer, I love that I can just pick up a quick game or two and then put it down, or whatever. I mean, I think that's what's amazing about the Switch, about multiplayer, and I think that's the reason why Nintendo really has something awesome on their hands with the Switch.
Definitely. I just wonder if, I'm trying to think with what you're talking about with the multiplayer stuff. I'm trying to think Sega. Did Sega ever try, when it was just Nintendo and Sega, before Sony was in the mix, it seemed like Nintendo, with the N64, was trying to go and make the multi-experience. They went from 2 players, and you had an adapter on the Super NES, so there were some 4-player games, but much like any adapter, most game companies aren't going to buy or make games for a device that maybe 1% to 5% of the user base owns. So they're going to go 2-player games. But then the 4-player, the N64, built-in 4-player.
Yep.
I don't know if the Genesis, or not the Genesis, but if the Saturn was. I know the Dreamcast was 4-player. So the Dreamcast, Sega finally realized, hey, people like this thing of being able to play multiple people together on one console. They made it work, but the Dreamcast was too little too late, and the piracy and everything else, but...
You're absolutely right. And I mean...
Sony still doesn't have more than... Sony, you can do 4 controllers.
Oh, yeah.
You can do 4 on the PS3.
Now that everything's wireless.
Right.
I mean, that's...
But on PS2, you couldn't. It was 2 controllers.
No, but you know what? On my PS2, I definitely... Even on my PS1, I had the adapter.
There was an adapter?
Yes,
but again,
absolutely.
Being an adapter, most companies aren't going to go out of their way to make it work for 4 players because... why put that effort forth for so little of a return?
You're not wrong, but I guess what games besides Super Smash, Mario Kart, Mario Party, and racing games?
True.
Can you really play
even on N64?
4-player where it's like this is the best way to play it? That's more like that. I think those are the types of games, and that's why I think you don't necessarily need to have a ton of games that are 4-player. Right. The capability, I think, is always fun, but I think when it comes down to it, besides those games, and again, I'm sure I'm missing out on a few, but you don't... Who wants to play a first-person shooter on a 4? I mean, Halo, you can do it. Oh, Halo. Let me in. Okay, right, the one
Xbox.
anomaly, right?
Yeah.
Xbox, the one anomaly, Halo. Because who didn't love playing 4-player? But I mean...
I never played... I never had an Xbox, believe it or not.
Really? Oh,
no. I never had Xbox. I did have a later hacked one that had, whatever Cody was before it was called Cody.
Mm-hmm.
But that was right after it was already on. I got it for $50, and...
I played...
Never in the heyday, though.
So I'll never forget, and I was in middle school when classmate was talking about Halo, and I'm like,
what is Halo?
What the heck is Halo? And he kept talking about it. I was a PlayStation guy. I mean, that's I don't know why my parents bought me a PlayStation, but they did. And then that was pretty much it.
It had the biggest library.
I didn't know that then. It was, I want to say... You want to know what my most played game was probably WWE Warzone, where you could play as Stone Cold and Undertaker, and I mean it was a lot like the original Super Smash. There was 6 or 7, maybe 8, superstars or whatever. But I want to say, that's what I mainly played on it. And then as the PS2, I got a little bit smarter about it because, I mean, in all honesty, it was PS2 or GameCube, right? I mean, that was it. So that was pretty simple. I knew I was going to go PlayStation 2 because I liked PlayStation so much. But what killed me the most was get in or get out. That was a marketing scheme. And I know the N64 really did not do so well. You don't remember that? That was their advertisement.
For Nintendo?
Get in or get out.
PlayStation?
No, that was Nintendo 64. I'll never forget those commercials.
Get in or get out?
Get in
Oh, get N or
yes,
get out. Oh,
yes.
I remember. Well, I more remember from my childhood that horrible Sega commercial. Sega does what Nintendo don't, which was where they figured out why you put an N apostrophe T and make it a kind of a word, but
it didn't work out for their favor. But I mean,
but Sega had hyper blast processing or whatever it was called.
Again, it did not work out for them so well. But I mean, when it really came down to it, I mean, PlayStation, you had the ability to use the multi-tap. I know PlayStation 2 definitely had the multi-tap available.
Right.
But, I mean, when it really came down to it, GameCube even
had 4 players.
Had 4 players, but what were besides, again, the ones that I've already stated?
The Mario Party. Yeah, the Mario Parties, there was a Monopoly.
As you have every
the
single
Time
Mario
Splitters.
But Time Splitters was also on other consoles, too. I don't think that was exclusive to
No,
GameCube.
I don't think it was.
But I think the better experience was on GameCube because it was readily 4 players. It was there.
Yeah.
Because with the PlayStation 2...
You had to buy an adapter.
You had to buy the adapter, which I think we had Time Splitters. My brother and I had it on GameCube as well as PlayStation
Was the original
2.
Xbox 4 players or 2? Natively? I can't remember. I think it was only 2. But I don't know.
I want to say it was...
I'll just look it up real quick.
Yeah, look it up real quick. I remember I always had my DVD remote controller plugged into one of the ports, so it may have been 4.
Let's see. Yeah.
That was way back. Oh, man, I remember Crimson Skies. That was where it was at.
Crimson Skies?
You don't remember Crimson Skies?
No, I don't know Crimson Skies.
Crimson Skies was actually, if I'm not, it was an original Xbox, and if I'm not, oh, that's right, you were an Xbox. But if I'm not mistaken, it was originally a game board that they made into an actual game. So it was 4 ports.
Yep,
yeah.
Original Xbox had 4, so they kind of copied Nintendo on that.
That console could kill somebody if you dropped it on them.
Oh, I mean, it's a brick. It's a brick.
And even the controller, I mean...
Well, do you remember why it was so heavy? The power supply was built into it.
Yes, I know.
Which also caused overheating issues.
Yeah, but man, did that have... I still have that. That's in my...
I have it. This in the back somewhere.
That
with maybe
thing
Halo
right
2
there. I mean, when it... You could make the argument of like, oh, it's too big, it's too bulky, but man, when you look at that, that's a fine looking.
Do you remember the original controller though? The thing was
the Duke
with the circle.
The Duke. Oh, come on! Tell me you did not
want
want that circle emblem to do something cool though, right? You wanted it to do something cool.
Did you see they're making one like that that actually has a screen and stuff? Now?
Oh, I didn't
don't know
see
if
that.
It's Xbox or somebody's making one like the Duke, and it has a screen where it can change what it displays or something like that.
Extremely interesting.
I'm not sure. I think it's for PC or something. It's a PC controller. I have to look that up. We can talk about it more in a future episode.
No, but I mean that's a great looking. I mean, but okay.
That's a small controller right there. Controller S.
Absolutely. Oh, that was. Man, you knew you had a controller in your hand though.
Oh,
you knew you had a controller.
And the Dreamcast one at the time was kind of around that time, and it was big because it had the VMU slot where you could plug the memory card in, and it had the kind of a big form factor. But I mean, the Xbox they were like go big or go home kind of with their controller. But then they got so many people their arms got tired holding the thing. They came out with the smaller one later on.
No, you're absolutely right. But I mean, hey,
kids couldn't use that big one.
That's where you have to learn and you have to adapt. And if you don't learn and to adapt,
right,
that's where things get, a little messy a little bit because, I mean, we all see companies that don't want to change, like Sony not wanting to do certain things, like doing the cross-platform and everything.
Right.
Is that really going to stop somebody from buying a PlayStation?
No.
No, not at all. It's just not going to happen. But it's an added feature that maybe you use, maybe you don't, but I think it's just to have it. Well, it's a feature on a card, like, do I need to have 6 different ways to change volume? No, but you know what? Maybe it's nice. And
it can be.
It
can be nice, I like now, if I wanted, we have the PlayStation 4 upstairs. Yep. I could switch to that and play Fortnite on that instead of playing on the Switch,
Which some people say is the best way to play, besides PC.
It does have a better resolution because the Switch is slightly less powered by it because it is natively a handheld. Even though you can dock it, it still isn't going to run as well frame rate wise, resolution wise as the PS4 will.
No,
Especially if you
I
have
don't
a
disagree.
pro, you know?
I don't. I just think what they did with this bad boy is absolutely perfect.
I
So,
love it.
mean,
I'm just saying it's a handheld first, and people got to keep that in mind when they're expecting Doom to be the same quality as PS4. It's not gonna be.
Couldn't agree more. Now, since this is a very multiplayer heavy episode and everything, whereas we get to learn about each other and everything like that. Here's what I will say. Since we've talked a lot of multiplayer, the single player, like you just said, Doom, I realize it's not pretty. Yeah. But you can play Doom on an airplane.
Oh yeah,
and not have a computer. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So I'm glad you actually brought that up. So I just went to Jamaica actually the end of October, beginning of November, and trust me, it was nice. So we're gonna have a little bit of a layover, some plane trips, so on and so forth. So I wanted to be prepared. So I went and got Wolfenstein. Now I played Wolfenstein on Xbox. If you're asking me which way to play the actual game, it's Xbox One or PS4. And if you're going to, Xbox One X is definitely the way to play anything, I think, console-wise. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to go back and forth between the PS4 Pro and everything, but I think it's pretty much settled. The Xbox One X really is the system. So there's little things in the game where you need to read from a piece of paper to memorize it. And on the Switch, not the greatest. Can you fumble through it? Yes. Is the story still there? Yes. I loved being able to play one of the hottest one-player games by one of the... Bethesda.
Right.
I know Fallout 76.
I know they got some problems right now,
but
you gotta look at their good games. I mean...
That's where I'm at. And even... Everybody knows there's always going to be a little bit of jankiness to the Bethesda games, right? But you know what? It's that fun side of it. But I mean, that's, again, another episode for another time. But you can play these single-player games portably.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the portability with the ability to play multiplayer is truly where Nintendo is thriving.
Oh, yeah.
And now that we can kind of move on from multiplayer a little bit, what do you personally think is going to happen to this guy in the next generation? Because you know just as well as Xbox moved on from their big controller to the smaller controller, you know there's going to be another reiteration of this, because there wasn't long before I was playing the Game Boy, and then all of a sudden Game Boy Color, and then Game Boy, and then Super
Game Boy Advance, and then
and then I lost track of everything, because that's where I'm like, I mean, you can't. I mean, come on, there's so many Game Boys out there, but what do you personally think is going to happen to the Nintendo
So a
Switch?
lot of people are saying, they would like the Joy-Cons larger, right? But you can't do it with this size screen. But if they made the screen larger, you could. But then what happens is you have all these people have all these existing Joy-Cons that now maybe can't hook up to it. More so, I'd see a larger screen to where at the edges it would contour in, and then the existing Joy-Cons would still work, but the screen would be a little bit larger, maybe have a larger resolution. If they put, I think it's a Tegra 2 chip, it's a Tegra 1 in there right now. They put the Tegra 2, and then, and basically, portably it can act similar to dock mode because it has that extra juice now. And it would have the extra battery, because they could put a more powerful battery in than what they're putting in right now. They can put more memory in. I don't think it's going to be a night and day experience. I think it's going to be more like you can play the docked versions of the games as far as how they play docked portably. It's going to be what it is, and meaning the original ones will still work. Where, I don't know if you're aware of the new 3DS situation, where there's maybe, one or two or a few, maybe a handful of games that can be played only on the new 3DS.
Yes.
There were some that could be played on both. They ran a little worse on the 3DS than the new 3DS.
Right.
So it
they
knew which system it was on.
Yeah.
Like Hyrule Warriors and such. But I don't think it'll be where you have to buy the new one to play the games. I don't think they'll do that much, because I think maybe they saw on the 3DS that didn't work out well. I don't think third parties will do that, because most third parties didn't make any games that said, it'll only run on new 3DS. So you just took your user base down from... It's all about
that money, right? It's about that money.
Down to 4 or 5 million. I don't think you want to do that. You cut away like 80% of your base.
But how volatile the gaming industry is with how expensive it is to make games. I mean, the time, everything. Like if you're not in the industry, and I'm not saying we are, I know I do a lot of research on this stuff. Gaming is something that I've done since I was young. I like doing it, even if I'm not really hardcore into it at certain points in my life. There's ups and downs. It's something that I think, and just look at esports now and everything, like now you can make money. I mean, just overall, the industry isn't something to shy away from, nowadays. So I mean, I really do like to stay as informed as possible on this stuff, but I mean, just look what Telltale and, people losing their job and, just it's not easy to make games. And I think you need to have that broad horizon. So I think, in my opinion, if they do, and I know they're going to make an upgraded version of the Switch, I mean, they got to keep the same games. They got to be able to, and I mean, I got big hands.
It's not going to be Switch 2.
No, it's not going to be. I got big hands, and I get why everybody doesn't like, my hands cramp. Mine do too. But I mean, it's one of those that's the reason why you have the dock mode, right? Go switch to dock. Give your hands a rest. Or maybe that should be your mental note, oh, I need to go get some water. I need to hydrate. I need to take a break. There's a few things I could do with my life. Maybe I need to stretch myself a little bit.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying.
I'm hoping they don't call it the Switch U, though, and confuse the hell out of everybody again. Though that was a big problem with the Wii U. When it came out, people didn't know the Wii U was actually a different console. They thought it was an add-on for the Wii.
That's the
horrible.
problem.
The marketing on it was completely bad. And
what generation is it? What generation? Now Nintendo is really... Because there were clear generational lines.
Right.
Up until... the Wii U, essentially.
Yeah.
You had the Wii, you had PS3, and you had the Xbox 360, right?
But Nintendo always says they're not competing with the other two. That's their phrase. They always say, we're not competing with them. But they are. I mean, the Wii lasted, 2006 to 2012. The Wii U lasted 2012 only to 2016. And then
it limped me. It limped.
Maybe, I mean, it was dead 2 years in. It was really dead 2 years in. I mean, they knew. That's why they didn't even make a real Zelda game for it. They just kind of made it for the Switch and then made it also work on the Wii U, which...
They had Skyward Sword, didn't they?
No, Skyward Sword, was that Wii U?
Or was that regular Wii? I can't see that. Now that's where... That's where my Nintendo knowledge goes out the door because, in all honesty...
I thought that was on the original...
I understood the Wii and the premise behind it. They wanted to make it a family-friendly thing.
It was on the original Wii.
It was a good time. Original Wii.
Yeah, Skyward Sword and I think, that came out, and Twilight Princess both were, I think... Twilight Princess was right in the beginning of the Wii, and then I think, don't quote us as usual, but yeah, it looks like from this, it's Skyward Sword and both Twilight Princess, and then the Wii U, I mean, they were making the one, and they were making it for it, and ended up being what we have here, Breath of the Wild. After a while, they figured out look how much money we're spending on this for a 15, million user base. I mean, they knew they were going to lose money on it, and so they were smart. They held it for the next console, and let it be. They took advantage of it, and then they kind of just down-resed it, downgraded it, and work on the Wii U.
But I think after the whole Wii U incident, it coming out, it just wasn't. I don't know if it was marketed right or whatever happened. They took a risk with the Switch.
Yeah,
they took it, and I mean, like you said, they waited on Zelda, and Zelda was there was more Zelda copies sold than actual Switches sold. What is that? I mean, that's a
because
statistic,
it was easier to find the game.
It
was easier to find the game than the console because they had to ramp up production. They didn't know how hot it was going to be, so they were once again. Nintendo's always conservative with their numbers. They love to be conservative. They don't want to overproduce. Look at this. What was it? Nintendo Classic when that came out? They didn't even announce it to the public. They announced it to retailers at E3, and then one day it just appeared out there, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, there's a Nintendo Classic." It's like. I mean, when the only thing, I mean, did you ever see a commercial for the Nintendo Classic or the Super Nintendo Classic?
No, I mean, I just knew about it because, I listen to other podcasts and everything like that. That's
but they didn't market it. They really didn't market them. They didn't have to. The word of mouth spread so wildfire, and the things were selling themselves.
So what did it had the unreleased Star Fox?
Whatever. Oh, on the second one, Super NES one, they put out Star Fox 2, which was never released.
I want to say, I read a few of the reviews and everything. I hear, it was a game that was left. It's a game you've never played. But I mean, is it going to be the game of the year? No. But from what I understand, everybody who has the NES Classic loves it.
Oh yeah. I mean, both of the consoles, are great. Just if you don't have the original around or emulator or some other way.
No, I agree. I mean, Nintendo does things right, but I mean, they do take risks every now and then. And I mean, I think that the next generation of the Switch isn't going to be a risk. I think it's already there. I think. Case in point, the first year of Switch, you had Mario and you had Zelda. I mean,
Yeah.
We're just getting done with the second year now.
You had Splatoon in the first year.
Okay, no,
but very big.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong, and I know Nintendo wants that to be its multiplayer, go-to game and everything, which I've never played.
It's bigger in Japan than here, but I tell you, it's. I mean, you knew if Nintendo made a shooter, GoldenEye, you had the blood and stuff, but it was not really first party. It was produced by Nintendo, funded by Nintendo, but Rare put it out. But if they were going to do something nowadays, they weren't going to put a game with blood. They were just going to go and make it safe. And actually, I will tell you something I know about Splatoon that I've heard. Let me say it that way. I've heard is.
Don't quote us.
That it was originally going to be based on Mario Sunshine with the flood pack and everything, and that's how.
Well, you can see that, right?
That.
You can see that there are some similarities.
And then they changed it to paint, and then instead of multiple Marios, they changed it to be, the Splatoon characters. They came up with them, and that's actually from a younger division there at Nintendo, who were tasked with, come up with new things, new properties. Don't work on the existing things, and they did great. And then ARMS didn't do. As well, but it still sold in the millions. That's still a success,
No, you're not wrong. So, I mean, that was the first year, and I mean, that's a glance. I know there was other stuff out there and everything, but I mean, when you really think about the first year of the Switch, and I didn't even own a Switch in the first year. Like, that was the crazy side of it. Or if I did, it was towards the tail end. I know I've had it for...
Maybe after Mario Odyssey came out, which would have been October of last year.
Odyssey already came out, so I probably got it within its first year, I think.
And Mario Kart 8 was out in the first year.
Yeah.
They had 4 good games in the first
Mario
year.
Kart, the undying
What's crazy,
game.
you had 2 single-player great games, and you had 2 multiplayer great games. So there was no one that could say, well, it's a one-player-only console, especially when one of their pushes was you could take it with you and share the other controller and play together. And, I mean, what was in the previews? Mario Kart. That was what they showed. They showed Mario Kart being used in the car, 2 people playing on one console, which was the biggest upgrade over the 3DS.
Have you ever seen one of those, by the way? Those headset things? Yeah. The headset holder in it? Yeah, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that.
Somebody made one.
Did somebody actually make
one?
Not
Not Nintendo, but somebody made one. There is one
I've
for the car.
I've never ever thought that was a good idea until one day I was sitting in the backseat of a car and I was like... I'm like, this would be so much better if I could just have this
up there.
Have it up there and
playing
right now. That's exactly what I said. But, I mean, what's going to happen next? I guess we're going to find out. I do know that there's other peripheries that make the controllers bigger and everything, that make it more comfortable.
I actually have a couple upstairs.
Do you?
Bought them on Wish.com.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, whatever works.
Amazon has them,
Will there be a next Switch? Yes. Will it be a Switch Pro? I personally don't think so, but I mean, what are everybody's complaints right now? Power, I think, would be the biggest one. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you're really going to be able to change with that. Batteries only get smaller and smaller. But I do know that I really do know that they are going to continue to make sure that if there's a Switch game that can be played on one Switch, they're going to play on all of them. It's going to be the family of... You're going to be able to play that. Whether it's a Switch or a Switch Pro or whatever the next iteration is going to be, those games are going to be able to play across.
Oh, yeah.
That would be dumb for them not to.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean... That's realistically what I think is going through. And look, you found the car holder.
Yeah.
How much is that?
Olixar, $13.99. That's
$13.99.
That's one of them. There's multiple ones out there, but that's one of them. I mean, if Nintendo wasn't going to produce it, as we've seen, third parties will. And, most of them get Nintendo's blessing, so you have the Nintendo seal quality, quality
You're
seal, whatever. But
you're not wrong. In fact, this little stand that I have here, third party, took it on an airplane with me, absolutely love it. My cell phone goes on it, but I mean, in all reality, this is exactly how I was playing Wolfenstein. Just popped those controllers off, and I was just going to town. I mean, like that. This is the reason why I got one of these. I mean,
it is probably the best portable console. I mean, a lot of people say phones. I could never. Man, how do you play Fortnite on a cell phone? How do you see anybody far away? How do you? The controls,
you're talking to the wrong guy because I don't know.
I don't know. I think this is the best portable gaming experience that we got right now.
I'd say ever.
Yeah, but did you see Sony? Supposedly Sony has something they're gonna make, but it's the people are all saying Sony's gonna go back for it again.
Rumor has it Sony's out.
They tried twice, didn't they? The PSP and then the PS Vita. And they gave up after both times.
See, here's the problem, and I don't know why, because people who had Vita, they said there's so many good games out there for it. But I mean, I also have heard from industry people that it just wasn't handled correctly. You know, there was a lot of good that could
memory cards.
Well,
the first party where they always have to produce their own stuff. Sony, just stop doing that to yourself.
Stop doing first
Stop
party.
making a thing.
I mean, don't stop, but I just no.
Yeah, stop making something where you can only buy it from Sony. You know, you have to let people put any SD card in, like what Nintendo did. Imagine if Nintendo made a memory expansion that only you could buy the Nintendo brand and it was $100.
You literally just said exactly what I was about to say. Like that was the other side. I know you were saying about that. How what you think could be in the next Switch.
More memory.
More memory.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. I just bought a 200
terabytes.
I have a 250 gig SD. I want to say I got it on sale for under $30.
Right.
I mean, when it comes down to it, and I get when it really comes down to, you know, back in the day when you got a Super NES or if whatever you got, basically if you got like I did. Super NES, Super Mario Brothers, plug, play, game over. That was the way it was. There was no downloading anything. It was just, it was what it was. I didn't have to buy a memory card, nothing like that. Now when you buy a Switch, which I just bought a Switch for my sister for Christmas, now you're not just buying the Switch because you have the Switch, then, I mean, you probably want to get a game with it as well. I mean, you would want that.
Right.
I mean, there's carrying cases. I mean...
Oh, I have one, yeah.
I have mine. I mean, and don't get me wrong. The Switches are resilient.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I
watched those videos when they first came out. When people were throwing them in the air and they were surviving.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if this thing does fall, it's probably going to hit on the Joy-Cons. And if the Joy-Cons bust, I mean, I'm not Scrooge McDuck swinging around in a sea of coins or anything like that, but... If I got to go buy new Joy-Cons, deal. If I got to go buy another Switch, I mean, at this point, do I wait? Do I go get it? Like, that's where I'm at. Now we're going to ask a whole different set of questions and everything. But, I mean, overall, when you're just getting a Switch now, it's something that you have to contemplate. And just to circle back around, memory isn't a really expensive thing right now. So I'd say don't worry about the memory. Increase battery life, increase your resolution, and then... If you can make... Don't even mess around with the Switch. What if you made bigger actual Joy-Cons?
But that's what I was saying earlier. I don't think that's a good idea. I think...
With something like a little bit of girth behind it, like kind of that has... Because I know there was... I can't remember what actual grip it was, but it's a grip that goes around the entire Switch, and it has...
Like the handles?
Yeah, it's got the handles. It kind of looks something similar to, let's say, a... Xbox controller. It just has that, or whatever the periphery is that you actually get with the Switch. I actually do like that controller grip, actually. But just something like that, I would actually think that's probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
What is that called, by the way?
These things, I'll put up a picture
just for
of
the
what we're
Joy-Con,
talking about. But, they're Joy-Con grips. They're just basically like that, and you just have something that can press the L and R buttons a little better than using it just in your hand.
Something similar on that. Or if you actually wanted to build that into the actual Joy-Con itself and make the Joy-Con just bigger, but the Switch itself is... I think that would actually be a good idea.
Like that.
Yeah, basically just like that. But I mean... I think you could definitely do that with just adding a little bit more. Would it be as portable? Probably not. Would that be something that I would actually personally take on in an airport? I'd probably go with the original Joy-Cons. And a video that we are definitely going to be doing is how do you take this portably? Because I think that's incredibly important. Because if this is an aspect of what you're doing, moving around with it, I think it's important to just talk about travel with it.
This is more something that I've seen around, basically. I'll put up a better picture on screen. But this is basically, I think, more what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Where it's basically, you got the holders for it right there, and then you just pop the system in there, and that's a lot better. Because, that, it gives it that girth that you're looking for. And, I mean, again... Why should Nintendo change it if they don't have to? They're backing this one. It's got the Nintendo Seal quality on it. They got the case. So, and
Nintendo likes it.
It has the vents.
But that's the problem. Yeah. The vents and everything, because anything you add that's a periphery takes away from portability. Because I don't have it with me, but again, you'll see our video.
This is
portability.
A good design, though.
It's a great design, but it's not going to be something that I take that's going to be... I mean, if I was on a bus...
Yeah, portability, it sucks.
I'm not going to take that, but like, if I am for instance, when I'm at home, I'm typically handheld. I prefer the handheld as to docked, which we're the
I'm
opposite.
Docked. I'm a big. We have 3 docks. That was even that's because we have 2 switches now. But even before we had the 2 switches, we have 2 docks.
And then you actually, I don't. Me personally, I don't have a pro controller, and as of right now, I'm not planning on getting another. I'm not. I just. And you have 3 of those. So
it's like and why for guests, and it's I love the feel of the pro controller. I'm not a big Joy-Con fan. I mean. The problem with the Joy-Cons to me is they're too small, and I'll bring up an example. I did a video recently of Pokemon Let's Go. It is so, when you're holding that forever playing it though, I opened my hand afterwards, and it actually hurts because I've been holding my hand that small, and it's the thumb position. I showed it. Your thumb position on that right Joy-Con is like this, and you're moving, and then you're going up and hitting the buttons, and it's just, after a while, your thumb's just like,
You're absolutely not wrong. It is murder, but you know what? Pokemon Let's Go. Oh,
it's great.
Man, that's great. I could talk a whole video on Pokemon Let's Go and how nostalgic.
I don't know if you can trade in person with that one though. We'll talk about that in another one.
Most
how
definitely.
You can, how you can play multiple Switches together directly. You don't have to go over the internet or over LAN or anything.
It's true.
Like that. You can just basically play. There's so many things about the system that's done right to. Increase the social aspect of it, except for the online. And we're going to have to do probably a whole video about the online, what we'd like to see and stuff.
I mean, it's amazing. You know what? How about this? Because we started this whole... I know. We started this whole video about basically getting to know us and then moving into multiplayer. And we could circle back around because I know we were starting to talk about like what we think the new Switch predictions are. Here's what I want. Not what I want to predict.
Yeah. All right. What do you want?
I want an actual internet or 2019.
What do you want for 2019? Sometime we give them a year to do it.
Right.
We give them 365 days.
I want an actual workable internet service that's worth paying for.
Not peer-to-peer.
I personally do not care about these virtual games or the old school games. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool feature. Like
I like
the free week I had it. I played it, but. Is that really going to be what you play mostly? Probably not. Not when you have.
There's too much on the.
I'm sure I'm going to get slashed over this. But like when you get something like The Messenger, when you get something like Dead Cells, when you get these games that look like they came from the 80s and 90s.
Celeste is like that too. I've heard.
Yes, a lot of people's game of the year right there. Celeste, absolutely huge. When you have these games that are doing old school so well, why am I going to go back to games that were like, and just not been there, done that. And you know what? Case in point, I just went back to play Mega Man. As a kid, I loved Mega Man. Like in my brain,
Legacy.
Yes, loved Mega Man.
Doesn't hold up.
Oh, it holds up.
Oh, it does.
I just totally forgot how hard those games were. I'm going through. I'm like, this thing only has this many bosses with that. Like, this so many levels. Do you know why? You'd spend hours on that level. It's absolutely insane. So you as a kid, you would spend hours, if not days.
Well, you couldn't just
Junkman, Fanman, Waterman. Yeah, I know. So Solid State, love saving that. I mean, I do. I love being able to do that. But that, again, case in point. With so many newer games doing what the older games did, I'm getting nostalgic hits.
Right.
Plus, they control better, to a certain degree. I mean, it's now a day and age where you have VR, you have all this other stuff. I mean, I love the nostalgic factor of everything. I don't have to go back all the time because what really proves this point for me is Pokemon Let's Go.
Oh yeah.
As I look at that, I'm like, oh my! The moment I start playing that, this is the game. This is the game I remember, but this is what I wanted. I mean, when people start saying Game of the Year and everything, and I know we really didn't talk about Microsoft or Sony very much in this, but I know, like Sony, let's be honest, you have God of War. I personally played it, loved it. If you want to feel like Thor, play that game. Do I think it's groundbreaking? Not a whole lot. Visually, it's beautiful. I mean, Microsoft really didn't have a whole lot. Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, but nothing really that's blowing your mind out of the water. Nothing
No, it
that's
fell
really
short.
crazy.
It was a big promise they were making with that game, and it fell short.
But you know what? Now, and again, Sea of Thieves, when I first played it, and then I actually want to go back to it because I hear it's a completely different game now, which that's what these games of services and everything. But again, it circles right back to your multiplayer and what are you really looking for? Because, I mean, there's so much out there for you, and again, I think Nintendo does it on all fronts because here's what I will say.
Except online.
Well, except online. But, I mean, portability, multiplayer-wise, I think Nintendo really is doing stuff. They're heading in their direction, and I think they need to continue in their direction. Don't try to be something they're not, and I think they're going to be absolutely fine.
Oh, yeah. There's a few big things I'd like to see next year. One, a lot of people talk about this, a D-pad, left Joy-Con. The only one out there is from a third party that...
You don't want to take your Joy-Cons apart? You don't want to take your Joy-Cons apart?
No, I'm terrified.
Get the tri-wing screwdriver?
I have a tri-wing screwdriver, but I'm just terrified to do that to it. I opened up my N64 back in the day and took out that guard so you could play the games from Japan.
Oh, yeah?
That was because I had the Japanese version of Mario Kart because it came out in Japan way before it came out here, and they actually toned down the difficulty for America. It was too hard for us.
Oh, well, what do you do?
So when you play the Japanese version, it kicks your ass. But I'd love to see a D-pad. I want more online as far as... I mean, Fortnite, the voice chat, it gets bad at times, but you can do it. And there's a couple other games on the console that are doing that now, where it's built-in integrated voice chat. And maybe, and that's one of the hopes for if they do make a Pro console, let the online, make the app work within the console. So then you can do the voice chat in the console somehow.
Yeah, I see.
So then the people who have the older one use the phone. The people who get the newer one use it built in. It's not unfair. You're an early adopter. Early adopters always get screwed in some way.
You're not wrong, but I don't.
The red ring of death on the Xbox early on.
In fact,
twice. See.
But Microsoft, you hooked me up both, so I don't really care.
Oh yeah, they always take care of them. But I'm just saying, the later people didn't have to deal with that.
No, you're absolutely. You know what?
Problems,
absolutely. When it comes to the D-pad, absolutely, I think that's important. I think it's more important for like fighting or games and stuff like that. I know that. Or
the D-pad's
more for like your TV platformers and everything. You might get a little bit more, feel for it and everything because those games really are important about touch and feel. So
and the D-pad on the Pro controller sucks. At least the ones I have. I haven't tried the third one we bought, but the first two, it hits down randomly, it hits up randomly. It's because of how they made it. I have to talk to you about that in another episode. But
here, I'll tell you why I don't have a Pro controller. And it again
because you play portably most.
No, well, not just that. Not just that. Do you know what ruined me?
What?
Play with an Xbox Elite controller, and you'll never want to play with anything ever else. That's it.
You can play with an Xbox Elite with this.
Yes, you
There's
can.
an adapter.
Yes, you can.
There
yes,
you go.
You can. I do have to. I should get that.
Just buy the adapter. Yeah.
I really should because if you've never played with an Xbox Elite controller, which I get it, they are expensive. But like I said at the very beginning, I don't have kids, so I'm going to spend a little bit more money on stupid stuff, and that's a fact. But that's the reason why you're getting two different perspectives here. So I will play that Elite controller. Do I love playing Call of Duty with that? Oh my gosh, do I love it! I got my little paddle on the bottom. I got the hair trigger sensitivity. It feels good. The weight feels good. Just the material overall. If you've played with one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Scuff, all that stuff. You guys got nothing on that Elite. But I mean, I'm not saying you don't have a good product because I've also played with the Scuff. Not so much their brand new one.
Is the Elite the one where you can switch out the D-pad piece and such? And I've heard the D-pad on it is like great. It's like amazingly great. So
there's nothing else more I can say. And you want different levels for your actual control sticks and everything. I mean, and that's what's ruined me. So when I hear like, the Nintendo Pro controller, I'm like, if I played Splatoon all the time, if I played Super Smash online, if you could play online, like maybe I would.
If you could play online,
maybe I would. But I don't think I ever will get a Pro controller.
The only thing you're missing out on without the Pro controller is the Amiibo reader, and the only other thing in it is the HD Rumble, which the HD Rumble is cool what it can do, and I love it, but I don't think either of those are necessary to enjoy the experience. So yeah, if you can do it with the Elite controller, why not?
I couldn't agree more. So, But I mean, that's pretty much multiplayer, that's us. That's Nintendo. This is the first video. So we're actually going to fine-tune a few things. We're actually going to read some comments, see what everybody thinks, and then we're going to go from there. But again, this is going to be an overall encompassing gaming experience for you.
We'll figure out the name.
Yeah, we'll figure out the name. We'll go from there. And if there's anything you personally want to see or any questions you have, just let us know. But otherwise, my name's Steve. And this is Jeremy.
Leave a comment, like the video, share it with your friends, get it out there, and definitely any topics you want us to cover in the future, leave a comment and we'll put it on the list because we got a lot we want to talk about. We definitely both have our opinions and
plenty to say.
And we don't always agree. We agree a lot on I think the Switch, but we don't always agree on everything. But definitely
games especially.
Yes. Games we'll probably
even though when I sold him on Fortnite I was very surprised, but I mean again
that's a whole thing.
Yeah, I know that took a few weeks to sell him on it, but man did I get him, and then I just fell off the edge on you. But again,
no, that's good. Fortnite is a whole thing we can talk about, and the craze that is. I mean I don't know. Just one last thing on that. They profited $3 billion. I don't know if that was in the year or the quarter, but that game is just raking in the money. And it's free to play.
To play. It's you know what? It's an amazing time, and it's an amazing time that we actually get to do this. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.